What's up, YouTube? Strident here, and I'm going back and I'm covering some ground that I missed, over the last couple months. Everybody seemed to love my DC showcase reviews slash rant, so I'm going back and I'm getting the ones that I didn't do since they've been released, and so I'm going to cover Batman Under the Red Hood, Justice League Crisis on Two Earths, All-Star Superman, and I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the upcoming projects that they're working on now. So prepare yourself. Okay, so I'm going to start with Batman Under the Red Hood. Batman Under the Red Hood stars Bruce Greenwood as Bruce Wayne slash Batman, and he does an awesome job. This is the first time they found an actor other than Kevin Conroy to play Batman, and it didn't feel strange. He fit. There was like no misgivings about his voice. It just sounded like an older, more fatherly Batman, and I dug it. I really dug it. Bruce Timm said actually that Bruce Greenwood was one of his first picks for Batman when he was doing the animated series. So I guess he finally got his wish, you know. Jensen Ackles, he's the older brother from Supernatural. He plays Red Hood, and he was decent. I mean, he sometimes felt overly dramatic, but I mean, I didn't really have an issue with him. He had the intensity that was necessary, and John DiMaggio played the Joker, which was kind of crazy because he was channeling so many different versions of the Joker, mostly Kevin Michael Richardson's version from The Batman, and what's his name? God, I don't know why it just Mark Hamill's version from the animated series. And then at times, if you didn't know already, John DiMaggio is the voice of Bender from Futurama. So then there were times where he made a joke and his delivery was straight up Bender. So for a lot of people, it was an issue. For me, I just was like, whatever, I don't really care, so what? So the main thing in this movie is the level of violence in the opening sequence. There's a lot of fighting and a lot of action, but that opening sequence is one of the most brutal animated intros that they've ever done for any of these shows, especially in Batman. I mean, you've had hints of blood and you've had things like this, but you've never seen people beaten half to death. And then on top of it, it's a kid being beaten half to death. Now, in American cinema, that's one of those things that they reserve for like really screwed up horror movies or movies about serial killers that actually did these things. But, usually in works of pure fiction, you don't see that much here in the States. You see stuff like that overseas. There's so many horror movies where the kid is the main person and there's stuff done to the kid. But overall, never in animated stuff. But here it is. And it's kind of like, damn, they kind of took it to the right area to make it visceral enough that you understand why this haunts bats, into the present. Pretty much, there's tons of spoilers in case you didn't know, because this is a review, but pretty much you find out that Ra's al Ghul hired the Joker to help him stop some type of terrorist somewhere, and Batman and Robin ended up fighting against the Joker, and at some point Robin went off by himself, and this is the part where you find out that Joker somehow overpowered Jason, beats him half to death, and then he locks the door and puts a bomb on the door. And then Batman's on the other side of wherever, I think they were in like Bosnia or something. Batman's somewhere else far away fighting guys or something, and he finishes what he's doing and he's like, oh crap, I gotta get back to Jason. Hurries up to get there, and boom, Jason's killed in this big explosion. Batman goes through the rubble, finds him, and it's like a really nice, brief recreation of A Death in the Family. It's a book that a lot of newcomers never read. I read it because I was reading Batman books back in the 80s when this came out. This was one of the books, though, that I couldn't I wasn't allowed to get when I got it when it first came out. I mean, because I was way younger than what it was kind of aimed towards, and my mom was a little hardcore about that stuff. But a little bit later, like after the Batman movie by Tim Burton came out, then she let me go back and get it. So yeah, it was pretty violent intro. The action sequences in this movie are amazing. The twist on the story, Under the Red Hood, that was written by Judd Winnick, is because Ra's al Ghul felt responsible because he hired the Joker for whatever the job was he hired him for. He brings back Jason Todd in a Lazarus pit. Jason Todd comes out, but he's fucked up, and he starts going crazy, killing off Ra's al Ghul's men, and he just leaves. So it's one of those things where it's like he meant well, but it didn't go how he planned, and now you have this crazy dude who's just vengeance crazed. He feels Bats was too weak. He always wanted to kind of, what's the word? He's fighting a battle that he can't win by trying to arrest and take villains through the justice system the way that it is. He feels you need to control the problem, so he goes about killing off the heads of these different gangs and mafia families and taking over their operations and giving them a cut and having them continue doing what they're doing, but with rules. Batman, of course, is like, this can't go down. So, strangely enough, too, there is no Robin in this movie, and besides Jason Todd in the flashbacks. Instead, Batman's partnered for a portion of the movie with Nightwing. And when you see the flashbacks, you see Robin, Jason Todd, in the original Robin costume, and in in Tim Drake's Red Robin costume. Not Red Robin, the character, but the red costume that he just got a couple years back, which I thought was kind of lame because the only costume that Jason Todd got to wear is the original one that was worn also by Dick. And they show it in the animated movie, but they don't actually they don't stay true to the continuity of costumes that Robins have worn. So that was my only gripe. Anyway, besides this, the action is ridiculous. Every single fight is progressively crazier than the last. The first fight is between Batman, Nightwing, and Amazo. Insane. The very last fight, which is between Batman and the Red Hood, awesome. There's a portion of that fight where Batman owns Red Hood in such a way that you're just like, wow, this is what I've always wanted to see Batman do. I mean, there's things Batman does in this movie that it's surprising that they haven't done in live action. And I'm thinking that, what's his name? Christopher Nolan is going to be doing a little bit of borrowing from the type of action that was in this movie. I mean, there were a whole bunch of CQC fights, but the very last one, Batman used techniques that are real. It was real choreography. It wasn't comic book with quotes, comic book action. It was real martial arts, and it was awesome. So this is a definite win. This is probably the best Batman movie that they've ever done. Better than, in some ways, better than Batman Begins, because it's not an origin story for Bats so much as it is for the Red Hood. But the action kills Batman Begins because it's Batman doing things perfectly, except for obviously the one failure that kind of is the catalyst for the story. But better action than The Dark Knight, because there's more of Batman, way more of Batman than any of those movies. Better than Tim Burton's Batman. I mean, it's up there, definite 10 out of 10 easily. The looks of the characters are on point. The voices are on point. Neil Patrick Harris was the voice of Nightwing, which was awesome. So, win-win all over everything. The music was done by Christopher Drake. I'm pretty sure it's the same Christopher Drake that did the music for... what did he do? He did the music for Batman, Gotham Knight, which some of that was He did the music for Wonder Woman. He did the music for Justice League, Crisis on Two Earths, and he also did Public Enemies. So you got to give him props. This stuff was done really well. I say if you haven't seen it, you need to go see it. It's definitely out on DVD because it was a straight DVD movie. It's out on Blu-ray also. If you catch it on TV, check it out. It's worth it. It's easily one of the best Batman features, period. Next up, I'm going to talk about Crisis on Two Earths. That movie was crazy. Crazy. It was kind of based on Grant Morrison's book, JLA Earth 2, with the crime syndicate and all that. And it had pretty much in this story, Lex Luthor is the leader of the Justice League in an alternate universe. But the Justice League that we know is the crime syndicate. And they're just pretty much evil versions of the JLA. Pretty much you have Owlman, who is the evil version of Batman, figures out a way to destroy everything. He wants to destroy all existence because he figures he discovers that in every world there's choices that are made that help create another world. So it makes every single free choice irrelevant because in another world you make the opposite choice. So he's saying we're not free. So he's going to make the only choice that matters and destroy everything. In the movie, you see a lot of deaths, too. Well, a couple deaths. Because the crime syndicate kills off the good Justice League like they're nothing. It's ridiculous, you know. Right off in the very beginning, you see them stab the Jester, who's supposed to be like the alternate version of Joker, who's a good guy. They stab him and they torture him a little bit, and then he blows himself up. Two members of the crime syndicate get killed off the bat too, because they get killed in the explosion. So it's a lot of cool, little cool details that they threw in there, and I was impressed. This movie had some cool voice casting. They had Mark Harmon as Superman. They had the one voice that everybody hated. It was William Baldwin was Batman, and it just didn't sound right. He was too soft. He sounded like somebody imitating Batman, not Batman himself. Vanessa Marshall was Wonder Woman, and she sounded the part. She was so tough. Nolan North, he was Green Lantern, and somehow it fit. It didn't sound strange. I don't know. It was good. Gina Torres was Superwoman. You know her from Firefly and Serenity. Awesome shows. You need to check that out. And James Woods, I'm sorry. He did the most ridiculously awesome job being Owlman. He was scary. I mean, he made Owlman sound like, you hear the name Owlman and you're like, what, for real? But then when you see the guy in this movie, he actually is the most fucked up villain in the group. It's crazy. Whatever it is whoever he was channeling, it was perfect. And props to Andrea Romano for being able to see him as the proper person for that character. Besides that, all the action is awesome. Storytelling is pretty tight. There's a lot of funny cameos and things like that, and easily, without me giving away too much, it's really worth seeing. This is one of the times where Superman wasn't downplayed so that they could make Batman cooler. Superman actually did some cool stuff in there. Definitely check this one out. This one would be like a 9 out of 10 only because I'm not the biggest fan of Grant Morrison, but since I love the DC animated universe and I love what their writers do with the source material, I give it that. Probably a 9.5 actually, to be fair. Animation is top notch as you would expect, and there's really not much else to report. Check it out if you haven't seen it already. It is ridiculously awesome. Check it out. Next up, we have All-Star Superman. All-Star Superman was based off of the comic book by Frank Quitely and Grant Morrison again. The book was okay. It wasn't one of my favorites at all. And this movie, it's weird. It was kind of soft. So there were aspects of it that were really cool, and then there were aspects of it that overall just felt so soft that it was kind of boring for me. But Superman was played by, what's the guy's name again? James Denton. He's on Desperate Housewives. Lois Lane was played by Christina Hendricks. I love Christina Hendricks. She's the redhead on Mad Men. That is a thick woman. And then, you know, the music once again was done by Christopher Drake. I'm trying to remember who played Lex Luthor in this movie. But overall, it was just, the plot is, there's a doctor, I think his name is Quintum. He has this team called Project, and they're exploring the sun. And then there's a booby-trapped, like, I guess that's what they said, booby-trapped. There's a clone of Lex Luthor that, like, turns into a monster and tries to kill everybody on the ship. And then Superman shows up and saves everybody. But during this, it's saying that he's finally absorbed too much solar radiation. Because, you know, we all know Superman is a solar battery, pretty much. That's where he gets his power from. So now he has new powers, but in the process, his body's breaking down. So Luthor is like, I orchestrated the death of Superman, and he's pretty much, he gets arrested, and he's in jail, and he's waiting the death penalty. So pretty much, Superman tries to act like nothing's wrong, so the public doesn't know anything's going on, and he now is like trying to act on all the feelings that he's had for Lois. See, this is another thing that made this movie strange to me, because they don't tell you what time frame this is in Superman's history. Because, you know, if he hasn't revealed his identity to Lois yet, it would have to be in the early portion of his life. But we all know that he didn't die in the early portion of his life. So this is like a big what if. I'm surprised they didn't put Elseworlds on the box. But it's Superman being extremely nostalgic and warm, and it's the most human that you've seen him. I don't want to say human, the most emotional you've seen him. There's a little bit of comedy in here, and with Atlas and what's the other guy's name? Atlas and I hate when I can't remember these guys' names. It's two guys, two goofy guys. Hyperion or something like that. What is his name? Samson. There you go. Samson and Atlas show up, and after Superman gives Lois a present that gives her powers, then they want Lois as well. So they challenge him to these tests, and Superman pretty much makes them look stupid. And you know, there's some cool action and a little bit of cool, you know, situations, but overall the movie just felt weak to me. I mean, it felt so weak. It felt out of place in Superman's world. This felt like a dream he would have had, and he would have woke up and been like, shit, I need to tell Lois my secret identity. It didn't feel like this is something that would have actually happened in Superman's life for real. So this one is a, you know, meh. It's not as an enthusiastic thumbs up, go check it out, but it's worth checking out if you're a Superman fan, because this is one of those stories that's very different from the typical Superman stories. The issue I see with a lot of Superman stories is people, they think of him too much as a god, so they have problems writing stories of him doing things that are interesting and relatable and amazing, you know? Yes, Superman saves people, we get that. Yes, Superman has all these powers, we get that. But it's the threats that he protects us from that make him all the more heroic. It's the choices. We have to show him making choices that normal people can't make because we're not him. And that's something that I'm noticing that a lot of writers have problems, you know, doing. Even Grant Morrison. So this movie I would give, like, you know, a 7. The artwork is awesome because it mimics Quietly's style perfectly. It fixes some of the things. A lot of Quietly's people are really fucking ugly, and somehow they fix that. You know, these guys at DC, Warner Brothers Animation, are awesome. They know how to tweak these comic book styles that are a little bit overblown. The music is alright. It's not the greatest stuff. It does the job. The action in the movie is okay. The very end half of this movie is a lot of action, and it's kind of interesting. But there are a lot of holes in the story, and I won't say it's as strong as the others, you know? I think if you're a fan of Superman and you're not a fan, or maybe if you're a fan of, you're kind of a lightweight fan of superhero stories, then this will appeal to you, because it's not, there's a lot of superheroics, but it's told from the standpoint of this being more of a emotional story and less of a spectacle. I mean, there is aspects of spectacle, because I mean there's superheroes involved, but there's more heart in this than what's usually in a superhero story. So I think it would appeal to, like, you know, kids on one level and then adults on another one. And also this is less hardcore than the rest because it's rated PG as opposed to PG-13. So, you know, it's some things to take in there. But this one is like I said, I would give it maybe like a 7. I don't think it's the greatest of the bunch. I don't even think it's the greatest Superman flick that they've done so far. I still think there are episodes of JLU, and there are other movies like Superman, Batman, Public Enemy, Superman, Batman, Apocalypse, that Superman is kind of more interesting, you know, especially in Apocalypse. He's a little bit ornery, and I like that, because, I mean, dude's been doing this for a long time, and sometimes it's nice to see that the villains are kind of getting to him. So, you know, check it out. I'm not going to say this is as good as the others, because it's not, but it's still better than the competition. So definitely check it out. And right now, that's it. I'm going to have part 2 up in a few minutes, so check me out. Peace.